1952, the Vatican investigated the events at the Abbey of St. Carda. This is what they discovered.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Movie Files, here to give you a movie review, and this time is for the film The Nun, which is in the Conjuring universe, the fifth film in the Conjuring universe, which I'm actually a fan of. In this film, The Nun was directed by Corin Hardy and also stars Taissa, Farmiga, and Demián, Bichir. Basically, we have our two leads who are given the task to go to Romania to investigate a suicide by a nun. In doing so, they come across this demonic nun known as Valak, who we've seen in previous Conjuring films. So before I get into this review, no spoilers here. I'm just going to touch on some positives, some negatives, and give you guys a score at the end. So let's just jump right into this, guys. As far as me as a fan, I'm a big fan of the Conjuring universe. The first Conjuring is one of my favorite films, horror films in the last 10 to 15 years. The second one's a really good follow-up. But then we have the Annabelle and the Annabelle creation. The first Annabelle I wasn't a fan of, I'm not going to lie, but the second one had some redeeming factors. You know, you had a good director, the director from Lights Out, who's doing Shazam, blank on his name, David Sandberg, I believe his name is. So had some flair, had a little bit better scares than the first one, but to me, the Annabelle franchise hasn't really matched up to the Conjuring, so I was pretty excited for The Nun. I've seen Conin's work before, and I'm a big fan of Taissa from American Horror Story, so I was pretty excited for this film. So with that being said, let's jump into some of my positives. I thought that the director of this film did a really good job of putting in some effective jump scares. Now, if you guys are fans of the Conjuring universe, you know that they use jump scares pretty effectively, especially coming from James Wan, who I'm a huge fan of his work, from Insidious to Saw to now big budget films, Fast and Furious, and then, you know, Aquaman later this year. So definitely, you can tell Hardy had some influences from James Wan because he is the executive producer on these films. So he brought some flair to this film, and I thought that the jump scares throughout the film worked pretty effectively. I thought that there were some really good tense moments in the film. There were some really cool set pieces. In particular, I think of two scenes. There's one scene with Taissa in this hallway, and she's meeting Valak kind of for the first time, and it's a really effective scene that I thought worked really well. And also, too, again, going back to kind of the visual scale of this film, there's some really good shots throughout the film, kind of Romania, and some really well-lit, dark scenes, some tense moments. Overall, I thought the visuals and also the sound effect was really effective in this film. So in a technical aspect, I thought that the film was pretty well done, and then also just kind of Corin bringing in his directing sensibilities and also picking up some visual flares from James Wan. I thought that worked pretty well. Going back to jump scares, there were some effective ones throughout the film, and I'll talk about the ones that weren't so effective later on. But overall, I thought that the effectiveness of the nun and some of the other moments throughout the film that I won't give away worked pretty well. There were a couple moments as far as the chemistry of the cast. I thought that one of the reasons I really didn't vibe well with the Annabelle films is I just didn't really care too much about the characters, and I'll talk about that later in this review. But for the most part, our two leads worked pretty well. And then there's also, I can't think of the actor's name, but he played a character that I didn't see in any of the trailers named Frenchie. I thought that those three worked pretty well as far as chemistry and had some pretty good moments on the screen. And then this is a movie about nuns. I thought throughout the film that they used some pretty effective creepy moments for not only Valak, but just different nuns that we get throughout the film. So I thought that worked pretty well. So not every movie's perfect, unfortunately. So on to my negatives, guys. There were some moments where I wanted more from Valak. Again, one of my biggest drawbacks in the Annabelle franchise was you're supposed to get the Annabelle character, but there really wasn't that much of a backstory, and what we got wasn't that well developed, in my opinion. That kind of falls in the same suit with the nun. We get a backstory of Valak, but it was just it kind of felt unnatural, didn't feel organic. I just kind of felt it was a little bit underdeveloped. And also, too, not to give too much away, but there wasn't enough nun in the film, in my opinion. Again, knowing what they're trying to do, it's effective in some horror franchises where you don't get much of the demonic entity, or, you know, one of the best, I call it a horror film, Jaws. You know, you barely see Jaws in the film, and it can be effective when done well, but I wanted more than Nun and didn't get that much of her in this film. But the parts that we did get with her, I thought it was effective. The performances were pretty solid across the board, but I didn't feel, again, going back to Annabelle, I didn't feel like the characters, Taissa and Demián's characters, they had some backstory, but not that much that you're, not necessarily, I didn't want anything bad to happen to them, but I wasn't really necessarily rooting for them at the same time. They had these certain backstories. There were some things that happened in their past they really don't explain well. especially that they're kind of, I don't want to give too much away, but there's Taissa's character has some certain abilities that they really don't touch too into that I thought was a little underdeveloped. There is a tie-in to the overall franchise that I thought kind of was shoehorned into the film. Didn't really feel organic, but there is a connection to the obviously the big picture of the Conjuring. That's towards the end of the film that I won't get too much into. There were some moments that the jokes kind of didn't land for me. The storyline is pretty simple, but throughout the film, we're watching our two leads trying to solve this kind of mystery of this particular place in Romania, and you, as an audience, you kind of find out the mystery within the first like 10 minutes, but you're watching them trying to solve this mystery that, as an audience, again, you kind of knew what happened, but I thought that was kind of a little strange there. And then, of course, with the horror film, you do get some traditional tropes where people hear things and they're walking towards this, so they do just some silly decisions. So that just comes with certain horror films that just kind of a nitpick. But overall, guys, I enjoyed this film, actually more so than both Annabelles. Again, I did not like the first Annabelle. Annabelle Creation was an upgrade, but still wasn't in the Conjuring vein that I was looking for. But I thought that The Nun was pretty effective in that sense. You know, again, kind of some going back on my positive negatives. I thought that the film shot well. I thought that the scares were pretty effective. The nuns were creepy as hell. But again, underdeveloped characters. The storyline was a little weak at times. And also, I felt like I wanted more of the nun and wanted to know more of her backstory. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to give this film a 3 out of 5. I think it's a solid entry in the franchise. Again, I would say The Conjuring 2, and then probably The Nun, Annabelle Creation, and then Annabelle. So I thought it was the third best in the franchise. And we're getting more. We're getting Annabelle next year. I believe they said it's like Annabelle kind of meets Night at the Museum. So we'll see where that goes. So again, 3 out of 5. I recommend you guys checking it out. It's a good time at the theater. If you're a fan of that Conjuring franchise, I think you'll enjoy this film. So with that being said, guys, definitely comment below. Let me know in the comments, what is your favorite Conjuring film in this universe? Give me kind of your ranking. Again, mine was The Conjuring 2, The Nun, Annabelle Creation, and then Annabelle. So let me know what you guys' favorite film is in the franchise and kind of rank them. And as always, definitely like, share, and comment below. Also, head over to our Movie Files on Instagram. We're at Movie Files. We're doing a contest for a digital code for Ready Player One, so definitely check that out. It's in the description below as far as our Instagram. The contest for that ends the 9th of this month. Definitely check out some other content on our page. As you can see here, we got our reviews, and then also subscribe to our channel, guys. We will see you on the next video.